Okay, so let me tell you something that happened a few years ago, back when I was 19. This was during my second year at Brookview College, which is this small school up in Oregon. Real rainy, kinda cozy, until it wasn't. I lived in a student suite called Maple Hall with 3 of my best friends from high school, Liam, Marcus, and Jay. The suite was decent. 4 small bedrooms, a shared living room, a tiny kitchen, and a hallway that somehow always smelled faintly like old popcorn and wet socks. You get used to it. Everything was going fine. We had movie nights, shared groceries, even argued over who left pizza boxes on the counter. Normal stuff. Then Jay decided to move out mid-semester to live with his girlfriend off campus. And that's when things changed. The college filled his room almost immediately. They assigned us a new roommate without even asking. The guy's name was Eli. He showed up on a rainy Thursday afternoon with 2 duffel bags and a blank expression. Tall, like really tall, probably 6'5". Skinny, pale, messy blonde hair, and these weird light-colored eyebrows that barely showed on his face. He looked like he hadn't seen the sun in years. His eyes were off, not evil or anything, just empty. We tried to be nice. Liam offered to help him move in. I made some awkward small talk about classes. Eli barely responded. He nodded a lot, said thanks in this low, raspy voice, and disappeared into Jay's old room. That night, we heard him moving furniture until like 3 a.m. No music, no TV, just dragging, scraping, tapping on the walls. It sounded like he was pacing, but we brushed it off. New guy, maybe just settling in. 2 days later, I came back from class and Eli was sitting on the couch in the common room, staring straight ahead at the turned-off TV. No joke. He was just sitting there, hands on his knees, not moving. When he saw me walk in, he said, "I need to tell you something." My stomach did this little drop. It was weird the way he said it. Like it was a confession. He told me he had something called parasomnia. I had no idea what that was. He explained it meant he had sleep disorders, sleepwalking, sleep-talking, night terrors, sometimes all at once. Said he might scream or walk around at night, and if I heard anything, not to freak out. I told him it was fine, trying to act cool. But honestly, it creeped me out. The whole interaction felt rehearsed, like he'd given this speech before. And something about the way he looked at me. He wasn't blinking, just staring. Later, I texted Liam and Marcus, "Yo, did Eli tell either of you about his sleep thing?" They replied, "No? WTF? Bro, that guy is weird." So now we were all aware something was off. We joked about it for a bit, but there was this undercurrent of unease. You could feel it. Something wasn't right. That weekend, late Saturday night, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. 3 soft knocks on my bedroom door. I froze. It was almost 2 a.m. I waited. "Who is it?" I called out. Nothing. Dead silence. I didn't open the door. The next day I asked the guys if they knocked. They swore they didn't. Liam even joked. Probably the ghost of Jay's old GPA. Funny, sure. But I couldn't shake the chill that ran down my back when I thought about it. I told myself maybe it was nothing. I was wrong. A few nights later, I woke up again around 2:15 a.m. Something had pulled me out of sleep, but I didn't know what. Then I heard it. Soft footsteps in the hallway. Slow, uneven. Shuff, shuff, thud, shuff. And then, another knock at my door. This time louder, more urgent. I didn't answer. I held my breath, waiting, listening. The footsteps moved away. I texted Marcus and Liam again. Just happened again. Door knock. Bam. No response until morning. Didn't hear anything. "Bro, your room's next to his. Maybe he's doing that weird sleepwalking thing." Yeah, maybe. Still, it was seriously messing with my sleep. So the next day I knocked on Eli's door. He opened it halfway. No smile. No hello. I asked, "Hey, were you up last night?" I heard knocking again. He looked at me like he was confused, then said, "I don't remember. Probably. I walk around sometimes." Then he added, "It's not dangerous. Just don't open the door." And shut his door in my face. That last part stuck with me. Just don't open the door. Like it was a warning. Not advice. A few nights passed with no incident. I started to think it was over. Then the worst night happened. I woke up to a sound inside my room. I sat up fast, heart pounding. My room was dark. I reached for my phone and flicked on the flashlight, and I saw him. Eli was standing in the corner of my room. He was facing the wall, muttering something under his breath. I couldn't understand it. His hands were twitching at his sides and his head kept tilting slightly like he was listening for something. "Eli?" I whispered. He turned slowly toward me. His eyes were wide open, and he said in this flat, monotone voice, "Open the door." Then again, "Open the door. Open the door." He wasn't looking at me. He was looking through me, right past me. His mouth twisted into this unnatural grin. Then he laughed, a low, quiet chuckle, and walked out of my room without another word. I sat there shaking. Okay, so this happened to me back in 2016 during my first year at Clearwater University. It's a small college in Oregon tucked way up in the hills. A really pretty place. Trees everywhere. Fog almost every morning. The kind of campus that looks like it came out of one of those moody mystery shows on TV. I was rooming with my cousin Mia. Yeah, we were family, but we hadn't grown up super close. Her dad was my mom's brother, and we saw each other at holidays sometimes. But when we both got into the same school and found out we could dorm together, it just made sense. We figured better the devil you know, right? Mia was chill. A bit of a disaster when it came to laundry, and she'd leave cups of half-drunk coffee around like they were souvenirs. But she was smart, funny, and didn't snore, usually. We got along well. We even shared clothes. She had way better taste than I did. We had this little system where she'd leave out stuff I could borrow if she was asleep or out, and I'd do the same. No big deal. Now let me tell you about the room. It was on the 3rd floor of Harper Hall, one of the older dorm buildings on campus, the kind with creaky wooden floors, old pipes that groaned like something was alive inside, and windows that barely kept the cold out in the winter. Oh, and we had bunk beds, no joke. I always thought those were for summer camp, not college, but apparently, Harper Hall liked to keep things retro. I took the top bunk because I'm a light sleeper and Mia always had to get up to pee around 3 a.m. If I was on the bottom, she'd wake me up every night climbing down. This way I had at least a shot at uninterrupted sleep. Now here's where things start getting weird. It was a Thursday night. I remember because I had a massive speech to give the next morning in my public speaking class. I was kind of freaking out about it, so I spent most of the evening rehearsing in front of Mia. She sat on her bed half listening, while flipping through a psych textbook. At one point she laughed and said, "You sound like a weather lady on local TV." I threw a pen at her. She told me I could borrow her gray button-up for the presentation. You know the kind. Soft. Fitted just right. Made you look like you had your life together even if you hadn't done laundry in 2 weeks. I thanked her and went back to practicing. Eventually, Mia closed her book, yawned, and said she was going to sleep. She flopped onto the bottom bunk, pulled the covers up to her chin, and was out in minutes. I kept studying on my laptop, sitting cross-legged on my top bunk with a hoodie on and earbuds in. I didn't want the desk light to bother her, so I was using the glow from the screen. Around 1 a.m., she started snoring. Not loud, just this soft, raspy kind of snore. Honestly, it was kind of comforting. Like, okay, someone else is here. The world hasn't ended. I kept going over my slides for another 45 minutes or so. Then I closed my laptop, shoved it toward the foot of the bed, and rolled over to sleep. That's when things got off. I woke up early, real early. I didn't even need an alarm. It was one of those half-awake moments where you don't know what woke you. You just are. The room was dark except for this soft bluish light starting to peek through the curtains. You know that cold early dawn light that makes everything look a little off-color? Like the world isn't fully loaded yet? I heard movement below me, footsteps, slow ones. The sound of the closet door creaking open. I was groggy, but I mumbled, "Mia?" Just loud enough. She answered with a quiet, "Mm-hmm." Still foggy-brained, I asked, "Hey, can I still borrow your shirt?" Another soft, "Mm-hmm." Then I heard the rustle of clothes being moved. Hangers clicking. The sound of her hand brushing along the fabric in the closet. I remember thinking, wow, she's up early too. I peeked over the side of the bed. Mia was standing at the closet, bent over a little, like she was digging for something low down. I couldn't see her face, just her silhouette, hair down, the same hoodie she'd worn earlier. She grabbed something, stood up, and turned. She looked up at me and waved. Not like a, hey, wave, it was slow, kind of robotic. Like someone doing a movement they'd seen before but didn't really get. I didn't wave back, just kind of blinked at her. She turned and walked toward the door. I heard it open, then close. That soft click echoed weirdly in the room, too sharp. A second later, I sat up more and checked my phone. It was 5:04 a.m. A little early for a bathroom run, but not unheard of for Mia. I stretched, yawned, thought about going back to sleep, and then I heard it. A snore. Coming from the bottom bunk. I froze. You know that feeling when your stomach drops like on a roller coaster? That oh no sensation that hits your entire body at once? I leaned over the edge of the bed and looked down. Mia was still in bed, asleep. Her breathing was deep even. She was curled up under her blanket like she hadn't moved in hours. I sat there, heart thumping in my chest so loud I thought it might wake her up. My hands were cold. My mouth was dry. I looked over at the closet. The door was still open. I don't even remember climbing down the ladder. One second I was up there, the next I was at the door, pulling it open and sticking my head into the hallway. Nothing. No footsteps. No sound. Just the old radiator clicking somewhere down the hall. I came back in, shut the door, locked it, and stood there staring at it like that would help. Then I shook Mia awake. At first she groaned and swatted at me. But once I said there was someone in the room, she sat straight up, eyes wide. What? What do you mean? I told her everything. How she'd answered me, how I saw her get up, how she waved, how the door closed, and how she was still there, asleep the whole time. Mia went pale. She jumped out of bed and ran to the closet. Nothing was missing. But here's the part that gets me. The shirt she offered to let me borrow. It was laid out on my desk, folded neatly. We both stared at it like it was a bomb. I called campus security. They checked the building, looked at the lobby cameras. But guess what? Nobody came in or out of Harper Hall between midnight and 6 a.m. They said maybe I dreamed it, that I had sleep paralysis or hallucinated, but I was awake. I talked to her. I saw her in that wave, that weird slow wave. Sometimes I wonder if it was someone who used to live in that room, someone who never left, or maybe, this is the part that really gets me, it was never a person at all, just something that looked like Mia. Okay, so this happened back in 2017 when I was just starting my first year at Pine Brook University, a small college out in northern Oregon. I was nervous but excited to start college. New place, new people, new chapter. I had gotten the name of my roommate about 3 weeks before move-in day. His name was Eli, and we exchanged a few texts beforehand. He seemed chill, nothing unusual. But a few days before the semester started, I got an email saying that Eli had transferred out last minute because of a family emergency, so the school told me they'd assign a new roommate as soon as possible. I didn't think much of it. Move-in weekend came, and campus was buzzing with people dragging suitcases and mini fridges into buildings. Parents were hugging kids goodbye. My parents helped me get everything set up in my dorm, room 204, top floor of Ridge Hall. It was nothing fancy. Just 2 twin beds, 2 desks, and a closet. My side was already looking cozy with posters and fairy lights. The other side was totally bare. Most of the other students had already met their roommates, but I was alone that first night. A few people on my floor came by to say hey, and they seemed nice. We talked about where we were from, our majors, that kind of stuff. But when they left, I couldn't help but feel weird being in that room by myself. Like the emptiness on the other side of the room wasn't just physical. It felt like something was missing. Then, late Sunday night around 10 p.m., there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and this tall, thin guy stood there with a black backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked a little confused, like he wasn't sure if he had the right place. "Hey," I said, "you looking for room 204? He nodded. "Yeah, is this it?" "Yep, that's us." "I guess you're my new roommate?" He smiled barely and held out his hand. "Name's Noah." I shook it and told him mine. He looked a bit older than me, maybe early 20s, with pale skin and dark circles under his eyes. His hair was greasy, like he hadn't showered in a while, and his clothes looked like they hadn't been washed in weeks. He had a slight accent I couldn't place. European, maybe? He stepped into the room slowly, looked around, and went straight to the empty bed. He dropped his backpack and just stood there for a second, staring at the wall. "You need help getting your stuff in?" I asked. "No," he said. "This is all I have for now." All he had was that one backpack. He unzipped it and pulled out a thin, crumpled bedsheet. No blanket, no pillow. He spread the sheet over the mattress and sat down, folding his hands in his lap. Then, without a word, he leaned back and used the backpack as a pillow. It was awkward. I mean, what was I supposed to say? "Nice to meet you. Enjoy your spine injury from sleeping on a zipper?" I offered him one of my extra pillows, and he accepted without a thank you. Just nodded and put it behind his head. We talked a little before bed while I talked. He mostly listened. I asked him where he was from. He said, "All over." When I asked about his major, he hesitated and said, "Undecided." His voice was low and flat, like he didn't really care about any of it. There was just something off about him. Anyway, I turned out the lights around 11 and got into bed. It had been a long day and I was exhausted. That's when the weird stuff started. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up, just like that. No loud noise, no dream. I just snapped awake. The room was completely silent. Not the usual kind of quiet where you hear the hum of a mini fridge or someone snoring. I mean, dead quiet. Like all the air had been sucked out of the room. Then I realized something that made my blood run cold. I couldn't hear Noah breathing. I slowly turned onto my side and almost screamed. He was standing next to my bed, not moving, not saying anything, just standing there, staring straight down at me. My voice caught in my throat and I just sort of gasped. That startled him and he jumped back. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "I was just going to the bathroom." He didn't sound embarrassed, just flat, like it was no big deal. I didn't ask why he needed to stand over my face to go to the bathroom. I just nodded, too scared to say anything else. He climbed back into bed and didn't speak again. I barely slept the rest of the night. I kept my back to him and one eye open, watching the wall like it was a window to freedom. The next morning, I got up and pretended like everything was fine. Noah was lying in bed, eyes closed, but I had a feeling he was awake. I gathered my books and supplies for class, but I noticed something weird when I opened my backpack. It felt wrong, like someone had gone through it. Things weren't where I had left them. A pen was missing. One of my notebooks had its cover bent. I couldn't prove anything, but the feeling was enough. I quietly slipped my phone charger, headphones, and wallet into my backpack and zipped it up tight. I took a deep breath and left the dorm. After my first class, I went straight to the housing office's website and filled out a room change request. I didn't go into detail. I just said my new roommate made me feel unsafe. When I got back to the dorm later that day, the door was propped open with a rubber doorstop. I walked in and saw Noah's bed had a new addition, a big dirty duffel bag. He must have brought it in while I was out. I went to my bed and opened my laptop, pretending to do homework. A few minutes later, Noah walked in, closed the door, and gave me a weird, expressionless smile. He slid the duffel bag under his bed without unzipping it, sat down, and stared at me. Not like he was annoyed. Just blank. I looked at him. He looked back. Then he climbed into bed, pulled out his phone, and just laid there scrolling. Except I couldn't tell if he was actually looking at his phone or at me. I left for dinner that night and stayed out longer than usual. When I came back, Noah hadn't moved, still lying in bed, same position, same blank stare. I tried to make small talk. "You go to class today?" He nodded slowly. "Just one. Cool, man." Super informative. That night was even worse. After lights out, I turned over and saw him again, sitting upright in bed, his back against the wall. Phone in hand, screen lighting up his pale face, only this time, he was definitely watching me. I kept pretending to look at my laptop while checking my email, desperately waiting for a reply from housing, and then finally a new message. But it wasn't good news. The woman who emailed me back said my roommate, Eli, had dropped out, but that no one had been assigned to replace him yet. As far as the housing office was concerned, room 204 should still be a single. I just stared at those words on the screen. I turned my head slowly to look at Noah. He was already looking at me. I didn't say a word. I didn't even grab all my stuff.